Next talk by Dr. Silpi Agarwal. She is a trained fellow in glaucoma from Arvinda and now consultant at Lakshmi Netralaya at Patna. She'll be talking on laser procedures as stepping stone. So why laser? Because we know that when treatment starts failing in medical management also, so there are a number of different lasers available right now. So she'll be talking on that.
Good afternoon all. Thank you Dr. Vibhuti sir for giving me this opportunity. We all know the moment we diagnose glaucoma for a person, it will change patient's life. It's not only in terms of economic burden, but it also steals the mental peace of a person. It's all because of the chronic nature of the disease. The term lifelong for a glaucoma actually hurts a lot. So the medical management of the glaucoma relies heavily on the patient's compliance, as Dr. Ravi already discussed, which is very inconsistent. Many a time, the undesirable side effect of the drug impacts patient's life and the patient's comfort and the quality of life. So a lot of time, laser is bridging between the medical and the surgical management, as it is minimally invasive and is better in achieving target IOP by altering the drainage system of the eye. The better control of the IOP will slow down the glaucoma progression and improve patient outcome. There are many options are available for the laser treatments are available, but the correct selection of cases and the diagnosis of a type of glaucoma is essential for the success. The laser patients are evaluated at multiple levels, from pre-procedural evaluation to identify the potential risk complications of the lasers. So when we're comparing the traditional laser procedure with the medical management of glaucoma, the study reveals that the laser is equally efficient. Moreover, it is one-time procedure and require very minimum post-laser reviews and medications. The high safety profile of the laser is due to our recent understanding of cases and the selections of laser parameters. It is equally cost-effective, and even it is a cost-effective than the normal glaucoma surgery and the medications. So, discussing all this the laser is considered as a stepping stone in the glaucoma management. There are multiple lasers options available, but the most commonly used is the anti-yac peripheral iridotomy, where we are creating a small hole in the periphery of the iris using a laser to improve the flow of aqueous within the eye to relieve the pupillary block. These are the indication, but one should know when this laser is not going to work. The laser iridectomy, if the angle is shallow, is not due to the pupillary block mechanism. Means to say, if it is non-pupillary block mechanism is there, all those cases the PI is not going to help, like the AC shallowing by the lens-induced AC shallowing, and if young myopic patient who is on antipsychotic like the topiramate, which here the shallowing is due to the choroidal effusion and shallowing, the PI is not going to help. The laser works on the principle of photodisruption. Sometimes when we are saying that the iris is really very thick, or the patient is on anticoagulant for a quite long time, that risk of bleeding is high during the laser or post-laser. In all those cases, we first try the argon laser, which attenuates the iris to 1/4 of its original thickness and is also coagulate the nearby vessel. And in the very second sitting, we can go ahead with the YAG PI to make it the PI patent. The best site for the laser to do is 11 to 1 o'clock hour, but we can do anywhere where we can find the good crepe. The pilocarpine is used to make the eyes moist, and the paracaine is used just to numb the eye just before the laser. Abraham lens is the lens of choice, as it reduces the energy delivered to both cornea as well as retina by almost 4 times less than the Weiss lens. This slide is just showing the comparison between the argon and the anti-YAG laser. Post-laser, the steroid drops are used for 7 days to reduce the post-laser inflammation, and the anti-glaucoma just to reduce the post-laser spikes. Patient is recalled for the checkup after 7 days to see the IOP and to check the patency of iodectomy. Even some of the cases we are saying, even with the patent PI, the IOP is not controlled. All those cases maybe the glaucoma is of combined procedure, which need either medication or performing iridoplasty to separate the adhesion from the angle wall and to open up the potentially functional trabecular tissues. The most common problem with PI is the bleeding, which is usually is easy to handle. You just pressing the gonio lens over the iris or just giving the pressure with thumb. Now coming to the laser which is stealing the global attention, that is the selective laser trabeculoplasty for open angle glaucoma. These are the common indications. This laser use is a frequency double Q switch Nd:ER with a spot size of 400 micrometer. The SLT causes the selective photothermolysis by targeting the pigmented melanin cells in the trabecular meshwork. The way it works on a very short pulse duration to prevent the thermal damage to the surrounding tissue. The mechanism of action of this SLT is by the triggering of macrophages, which engulf the damaged trabecular meshwork cell and also proliferate the healthy trabecular cell on the lost area. This slide just shows the size, the ALT, which is deliver the energy of almost 2 to 300 times more than the ALT, which causes the thermal damage, the coagulative thermal damage, as compared to SLT, where there is a minimum thermal coagulative damage of the trabecular meshworks. These are the some contraindication where SLT is not going to work. This slide just showing the size difference of SLT. SLT, the size is around 400 microns, so we just need to hit the angle. We not need to be very precise as compared to the ALT, where the laser is put on the anterior trabecular meshwork. In 2019, the LIGHT trial is carried out in Moorfields Eye Hospital, was published in the Lancet Journal. This multi-center randomized controlled trial of drop versus SLT confirmed the effectiveness of the SLT and concluded that the SLT should be offered as a first-line treatment for open-angle glaucoma and ocular hypertension. They also say that if the IOP is not controlled with the medication, it should be adjuvant with the medication so that the need of surgery should be delayed. Now coming to the destructive procedure, which earlier is thought to be the last resort, but now we are doing in the seeing eye also. Earlier the cryo laser are used, but now it is replaced by the diode CPC. So the indication for the cyclodestructive is all kind of refractory glaucoma as well as is the secondary glaucomas. The peribulbar anesthesia is given because it is a painful procedure. The one thing one should be noticed that marked is the written consent. The patient should be well explained about the consequence of the laser, this destructive procedure, because now, as I told, that we are doing in the seeing eye. So sometimes this laser, the lasers post laser, it ends with the staphyloma or the thyssecal eye or a painful blind eye. So one should be very careful about the written consent. This laser will act by destructing the ciliary epithelium, so resulting the decrease in the aqueous production, as well as it coagulate the ciliary blood vessels and the coagulative necrosis, which led to the ciliary body ischemia. The transscalar transillumination is necessary as the position of ciliary body many a time is variable, especially in the ophthalmic eye and the post-RD surgical eyes. A pop sound denotes the tissue disruption. If there is no pop sound, then we should increase the power to 100 to 150 micron, and the moment we heard the pop sound, again we need to reduce to titrate it. We should avoid doing this laser, destructive laser, at the site of where the sclera is thin or the previous filtering or tube surgery, and in the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position to avoid the long posterior ciliary nerves and arteries. As I already told, the complications are thicical staphyloma, distortion of pupil if we place the probe little anterior near to the limbus, formation of cataract or inflammations. Coming to the micro-pulse laser, the company people is marketed it as a replacement of trabeculectomy, but it is not. Yes, it is much better than the earlier used cyclodestructive procedure. It delivers laser with the on and off time. The off time helps the tissue to cool down in between, thereby greatly reduces the thermal damage. It works much better than the previous cyclodestructive procedure, but the chances of hypotony, pupillary dilatation, bleeding, and the RD may be there. This is the probe for this is the G probe of micropulse. Now coming to the endocyclic cytophotocoagulation, it is a newer advance where we do the cyclophotocoagulation directly on the ciliary body. Coming to the conclusion, the laser in glaucoma is an important part of armamentarium in the treatment. Practical implementation depends on the result obtained on your own patient by trying different laser and should not rely on different studies, which is very few. The several situations exist when the laser therapy may prove beneficial to control the intraocular pressure in association with the medical therapy and may enhance the quality of life and improve functional vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silpi, for a wonderful talk on laser procedures. In fact, we are doing cyclo-G as well as micropulse as well as SLT. And I find these two lasers adding to the treatment armamentarium in glaucoma treatment protocols. So moving